But isn't that an old mythology tale about always being kind to people because you never know who the fuck they may be? You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's very true too, man. And the thing is, it don't matter who they are. You can always learn from people. I mean, like you can. That's what people don't realize. Like, I'm not saying you have to hang with them, but I've learned things from people that was what the world would consider less successful or like straight up bums. Like, you know what I'm saying? Straight up like people that was just what other people consider the scum of the earth, man. But I've learned something from them, whether it's something I can use to apply to my life in a direction that I'm going in a positive way, or something not to do. I mean, but I'm saying I've actually learned some valuable things from those that were down and out, man, that has steered my life, and it helped add on to the way that I'm going already. You know what most people would think, why in the hell would you give that person time of day? Why'd you even chat with them any amounts of time? And I'm definitely not saying to go talk to just random, or he had to talk to everybody, but I'm saying in my own personal life, people I ran into that I didn't even think that I was going to get anything out of this conversation. We end up having a fucking really, really good conversation that I hold, to my heart dearly, and has actually helped change the person I am, or, at least helped me out more
Because
than
you
if I would have never.
prejudged.
Yeah, I did. I straight up prejudged and stuff. And I was like, this person definitely is not going to give me anything that I don't already know, A. And second of all, it's a waste of time. But then, we've had like some great conversations, and through it goes back to kind of what you're saying, through a conversation I had with that person. Now I'm looking at this situation this way, and now I just told somebody else something similar to our conversation, so they're growing. It's like that seed that keeps spreading, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
when you look at them, you're like, "Fuck, man, it's why am I even talking to them right now? Why am I even talking to them? And I'm in a situation. Why would I give them even a time? But which I really never do, man. I do, I guess, prejudge in the sense of that, not thinking I'll get nothing out of them. But it's been rarely where I'll just not associate with somebody because of like what I perceive them to be, and that's just me being nice, like such a nice. I mean, just being a nice guy and having it hard. But in my mind, I was like, man, shit, I ain't gonna get a damn thing out of this. But then I would get a lot, man.
Well, I mean, look at it. So for me, I equate it to a lot like in the Marine Corps. I learned way more. No, excuse me, I can't say way more, but I had way more examples of how not to be than I did than having examples of how to be. You know what I mean? There was more examples of bad leadership than there were good. You
Right.
know, so I apply that kind of same perspective to with people. If I really truly initially don't think I'm gonna get anything from somebody or don't want to fucking talk or whatever the case, I mean, you can always learn an opinion you don't want or that you don't agree with. You know what I mean? Like you can always, even if you don't learn, you might be confirmed in something. You know what I mean? But whatever the case, you should never exclude like people of option opinion or any kind of difference whatsoever. You should never exclude that,
Right.
regardless of how much you don't agree with it. Because, like I said, you can still learn. You can still learn something fucking that you sure you don't believe in or you sure you don't agree with, and whatever. You know what I mean? But the exclusion of differences, I think, is key to not go after. You know what I mean? I think that's important to not try to focus on. You know, I mean, just because you don't like something or don't agree with it, doesn't mean that it shouldn't be around. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean it needs to be fucking banned just because you don't like it or it doesn't feel good. You know what I mean?
Right. What I mean, would you say the same about a person like that? I mean, like this completely against something that you. Now I'll say this: do you feel like some people are not worth the time though? Like, do you feel like anybody, or you think anybody that they deserve the time? You get what I'm saying? Do you have people that you feel like are they're just not worth the time because we're not going to see eye to eye, and this could end up causing like this could cause more chaos than it's doing anything, or we're just going to keep on running in circles and disagreeing. You know what I mean? Like
No,
being a waste of time. Or what if it helps you by not talking to that person because you know that whole thing like know yourself and seek self improvement. If you know that this conversation could end up in you getting very upset and very like it just goes nowhere pretty much, and it's totally against something. Do you think occasions like that would be a good time to maybe separate yourself from that situation or from that conversation?
I think you should always be rational with yourself, be very self aware. If you know a conversation or a person is just going to fucking incite you and poke you and piss you off intentionally, and you know you're going to react to that, then be self-aware and don't engage. Of course, I believe that. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, be also self-aware and know that if you're going to go into a situation like that, but you can handle it, you can maintain your composure, you can maintain your emotions and everything, regardless of the other person trying to fucking instigate an argument. You know what I mean? Which I almost always do. Like, te- you can say whatever the fuck you want to say, man, and you're not going to get me to react any different. You know what I mean? I'm going to still fucking maintain my composure. I'm still going to maintain my mindset because that's what I have learned and throughout my experiences, is to always maintain composure no matter what anybody else says or does or what's going on around you. You know what I mean? Um, don't let your environment affect what your actions are. But I am self-aware of that. I know that I can go into most situations and be confident that I'm not going to be provoked by anybody because people, when they're not winning an argument or where they can't have an argument because they know they're being irrational, they go to fucking provocation, right? Provocation, yeah. They try to fucking provoke an argument by name calling and shit like that, and trying to get you emotional, trying to get you to react a certain way, you know. And when you react that way they want you to, then now they won the argument because they got you to get all pissed off and be emotional and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it being emotion, now I'm not going to say emotionless, hi baby, but not allowing people to provoke you into an emotional reaction is extremely important, especially if you're trying to fucking really engage in meaningful dialogue. You know what I mean? Meaningful conversation.
Right.
Um, because if you're if
Because
you
everybody's
go
not going to agree with what you, and that's one big thing I feel like, I mean, people just hate to be wrong, man. Let's face it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a human, like,
But
you hate to
don't
be.
stop trying to convince people. Stop trying to be right. You know
I
what I mean?
agree. I
Stop trying
agree.
to
Just be.
convince
Just
people you're
be.
right.
Just be.
Yes. Just tell people your perspective and your opinion. Stop trying to convince people. Be different. Be okay with that. Be
Well,
okay with having disagreeing.
for sure. It reminds me of a song by Lauryn Hill. Everything is everything. And it's so true because Lee mentioned one time, I think she got off a quote from somewhere, so I can't say exactly where, but she mentioned, which was very true. She said that life is like a universe that we'll never graduate from. Like, we'll never know everything. We'll never know enough about everything. And everything is everything, if that makes sense. It's like a
Yeah.
person may have something that you don't agree on, but a part of their point could be something that is, actually a logical thing. But if you sit there and go inside of a conversation with a shield up saying, everything that you say, I'm already going to probably, you go inside with that intent of, I
That
come in this bitch.
preconceived
Yeah, I come in here.
battle.
I come in here to prove my point. And if you don't like my point, then fuck you. But you realize the whole time you never even listened to a word the other person said because the whole time you was thinking of how you're gonna strike back. Like.
It wasn't about being right. It was about winning an argument, not about trying to fucking actually better your opinion, trying to learn something. You're not trying to exchange ideas. You're fucking trying to just be right and trying to win an argument, which
Correct.
is what most people fucking do, man. And it sucks because it leads to just not controversy, but it leads to fucking conflict. It's when all you're trying to do is win. You're not trying to figure out the best solution. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're not trying to figure out the problem. All you're trying to do is prove the other person wrong, trying to fucking win that argument. And nothing is actually being done, which is I think that is the unfortunate fact with most things in culture and society today. People talk all this fuck that people get mad, emotional as shit, and nothing happens, and then it dies down, and the next fucking outrage happens, and everyone gets outraged about that, and then it dies down. And because just look at all the fucking shit that's happened lately, I mean, just with all the shootings, and wasn't it just DACA that was the fucking big deal, the DACA thing, and then it was before a lot of the Russia shit and everything that's going on with Russia and the investigation with Russia and immigration and all, I mean, just it's one outrage after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, and I that happens with people. That happens with us on the internet, on social media, engaging in arguments, trying to fucking prove people wrong, trying to fucking win at each other, and it completely projects into the upper levels of society, into politics and culture, where it's not fucking people trying to exchange ideas, trying to really get past shit. It's people trying to fucking win arguments in our fucking leaders and in our fucking pop culture, and It's like that old saying: culture reflects politics, politics reflects culture. It's absolutely fucking true, you know. And there's a very fucking, I unfortunately believe, small minority of people that really truly give a fuck about treating others with decency and respect, and about living your fucking beliefs and your principles about being a good person, actually living out the things you profess, you know,
Mhm.
with tolerance and compassion and respect and fucking all open, all that shit. When you
Mhm.
can actually live that, there's only a fucking very small group of people who actually do. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And it sucks.
Yeah, one thing I've learned more about myself and me evolving personally, it has been just listening more. And it's especially with Lee. And I was always having I wouldn't say arguments, but it was always like again, we're very passionate about the things we believe in. So the funniest thing and it kind of hit me in the face was like, you know what, Brandon, sometimes shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I'm saying? And when I did do that, you know, it's like, man, I've learned so
Yes.
much, and I've learned that a lot of things that I was saying in the past was who I was indeed, but it was so much gibberish that I was like, and I've learned so much from just kind of sitting back and actually, you know, not being, because I'm a talker and I love connections, but sometimes I'll just automatically in somebody like, you know, boom, 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 and I'm just throwing out things. And what I realize more is like, you know, in a conversation, one of the most important things is also very much so listening to what the next person's saying. Like, you're not trying to think of another question. You're trying to actually, if a meaning conversation, you want to listen and engage, and being an engaged conversation takes both parts,
Yes.
listening and actually talking, you know?
Yes, because you have to, man. Like that's and when you actually grasp that, when you actually apply listening, you really just get a deeper understanding not only of yourself but of the other person, and you
Right.
actually do start getting that fucking more empathetic point of view to where, oh, this is why this person feels this way. And because, you know, if someone expresses an opinion, you can probably follow up and go, okay, well, what makes you have that opinion? You know, what made you to have that opinion? And then
Right.
they actually, if they answer honestly, you have a deeper meaning of that, you know. And it's always more beneficial. And you know, but on top of that, you know, like we've been talking about, unfortunately, most people don't. You know, most people fucking hate that deep, honest conversation about yourself. You know, I mean, most people won't ask those questions of themselves because they don't want to fucking know the true answers. Bailey, shut up.
I think Lee just
um,
actually came in, and they don't want to come. They don't want to come in. You're right. They don't want to come in terms or two terms. I'm sorry. 1 minute. Hey, make sure she
yeah.
wipe her feet. She's muddy as fuck. She just dug this big ass hole. So we just did that carpet. So when if you got a towel in there, gotcha. But no, you're right, man. A lot of times I feel like too people don't want to you know, they just don't really want to come to terms with what is the truth. You know, sometimes like it's a
About
thing. It
themselves.
goes right back to that saying, you can't handle the truth, which is fucking true, man. I mean, I know they preach a lot. You're like, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth, but it's so true because this is actually with ourselves too. When we experience and we actually feel like, damn, like man, I don't even want to face it, but damn, ain't that so true? You know what I'm saying? Or you know you feel it inside, but you do everything you can to fight against it, fight against the awareness that can really make you grow. Or like you said, man, having conversations that may not very much so be agreeable with the things that you wanted to go, the way you want the conversation to go, and then realize like, damn, you know, that's sometimes a bullet you got to swallow too. In order to grow, you have to do these things, like, you know what I mean, and come to terms not with just like-minded people. You know, I mean, how's anything? I mean, you are growing, but when you may have a conversation or interact with somebody who may be totally different and give somebody the chance of a fucking day, or you know whatever like that, that's when you really find out things that you didn't even know about yourself. Why sit there and always look at yourself in the mirror, the reflection of yourself in the mirror, and be like, that's me, that's me, that's me. Go out there, go outside and like interact with people, you know what I mean? Of different races, of different backgrounds, you know, like-minded or not, you know what I'm saying? And then when you have these conversations, you realize, you know what? First off, we're all people, we're all broad, and we're all living in the same world, different locations, but we all have what we call a soul. We all have meaning inside to know what's right or wrong. And if you don't give nobody a chance of the day and you just sit there and be like, I'm going to only be here to prove that me and mine and everything and everybody like me is right and everything else I don't want to hear. Why even engage and jump into a conversation? So getting back, I had to sit there and be like, you know what? Let me listen for a change too. Don't just dart out things. And it's good. It's, don't get me wrong. It's like, and it goes back to everything being a balance. It's good to be passionate about something and sit there and be like, hey, you know, I firmly this and that and this and that. But in the same sense, it's still that balance to actually sit there and listen, because it's kind of like when we go back and we look at these videos, you listen and you're like, wow, you know, I didn't even get that angle when I was having a conversation, because at that time you may not have been listening the way you wanted to. When me and Lee, or if I have a conversation with my friends, or so now, it may be things that I don't totally agree with, but I've learned more about myself. Hey, Brandon, sit back, you know, shut the fuck up for a minute, listen more closely to what a person's saying, because, you know, there's a difference between listening and hearing. Listen more in depth and closely to what a person's saying, and you'll get things out of that and be like, okay, now this conversation is meaningful. Now this conversation can cause growth. But if not, then you're sitting there plateauing in the same fucking position. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all about that in life. And getting back to what you said, DJ, it does apply to things that's going on now in the world. I'm saying big issues that we're facing in the world and stuff, you know? For better terms too, it's really that lack of communication, or it's more of somebody trying to be right, or it's more of my way or the highway. You know what I mean? More so than engaging in different matters. As far as like things that's going on, for instance, now, you know, with the school shootings and not just that, all the tragedies and all the things that we're experiencing right now and what we see daily on social media. A lot of these things are being fed more on social media by people that keeps feeding that angry beast, beast of not wanting to go the right way, but only to do this way because, hey, you know what? This is the way I want to go. Whatever somebody else has to say, or whatever influences of that person they have to say, it doesn't even matter no more. You know what I'm saying? You're not sitting there and taking time to take all of these things in that can truly, if it's not going to totally change everything. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying it's going to completely, but it is going to make for a better, you know, life. I mean, a better fucking world. It's funny. I mean, cliche is a better world, man. You know, but if we don't take those times and those moments, man, to really sit there and be like, hey, that person may have said this, and you know, it was really hurtful, and the conversation didn't go the way I wanted to, and I feel like an asshole because I really wanted my point to be proven, but realizing I just came into this conversation with a shield up and fuel inside of me to just only prove my point, and nothing else was done. I didn't grow as a person at all because I already knew my point. I already knew what I wanted to say. You know what I'm saying? I already knew these things. I wanted you to understand my point, and now it's like, damn, I didn't even get no self-growth from this conversation.
Yeah, and again, you know, that is something that a lot of people probably would fucking have problems with, you know. But again, you know, I always come back to the point to where, you know, if you feel a certain way, don't tell yourself how to feel because you can't. But just remind yourself, like, wow, I really don't give a fuck about this person or their opinion. You know what I mean? So why am I getting bent out of shape about it? You know what I mean? And
Right.
regardless of how you feel, like I said, I mean, because no matter what, you know, what people can say or do will feel bad. But that doesn't mean that you have to act and respond on that feeling bad. You know what I mean? Like someone can say some shit that makes me feel really crappy, but guess what? Like I can think like I don't give a fuck. Who
Right.
fucking cares, you know? And that's way easier said than done, you know, because I've unfortunately, like I said, humility and patience is the two things I've learned most from being a fucking stay-at-home parent, man. And that really it has translated to truly not giving a fuck about the opinion, especially the negative opinion of other people. Like I really don't fucking care, you know, and I have always to a point deeply cared about the opinion of others, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now I like I said earlier, I care about the way that I fucking put myself out there to people. You know, I do care about the way I present myself, but I don't give a fuck about the way I'm perceived. You know, I mean that's especially a negative perception. Like I am very confident in who I am, and I'm very fucking confident in you know being a good person. You know, I like to think that I try very hard to be a genuinely and sincerely good person. You know, so anything negative that anyone has to fucking say about me, I really just don't give a shit about it, man. Because if you really think I'm a bad person in one way or another, I'll tell you. Like, call me out on something, and I'll completely admit if it's true or not about all the fucked up shit I've done in my life and all the fucked up shit that I will continue to do because I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? I will continue to make mistakes. However, comma pause for effect, that doesn't mean that I'm going to give your opinion any kind of weight in my mood or my actions or anything like that, man. You know, I mean, it's and people get bent out of shape about it. Like people get a negative word on social media, people get a fucking negative comment for whatever reason, and they feel like they got to hit them back, and then the person fucking says something back, and then
Yep.
you say something back, you
Totally
know,
true,
and
man.
and
Totally
that
true.
negativity. That like now you just got fucking mad at somebody on social media, and now it's dinner time. Hey, babe, did you make dinner? You know, shut up, I'm fucking doing something right now. I'm fucking,
Yeah,
you know,
that
and then
energy
that just
came into
fucking
your own personal life. That's so true, man.
because you let that fucking shit affect your, you know, that negativity infected everything else, you know, and
Right. You're right, though.
you
I mean,
know,
that's a good point that I really didn't look at too much of. Obviously, as you're not going to be able to change your emotions, but it's the way that you actually think and look at it and how you're going to let it alter your day. Makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Very
yeah,
fucking
man,
true.
you know, because you ultimately like people can make you feel a certain way, but only you can make the decision to fucking react from that. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
It gets
because
back
you're
to the whole determining how your day is actually going to end up, or you're going to feed off your emotions, or actually be able to change it.
well, other people's actions are beyond your control. You can't control anybody. You can't control what they say. So people are probably going to say and do things that are going to make you feel a certain way. But you can control your own actions. You know
True.
what I mean? So I mean,
Truth.
how is getting bent out of shape and pissed off and angry and all butthurt bettering anything? It's not making the other people shut up, and it's
Not at
not
all.
advancing you past anything, man. You're just
It's sitting
bitchy.
there. It's affecting your life more. It's just making you worse and not allowing you to live a fulfilled life. Definitely true, man. Definitely. That's one thing that I want to definitely you know, and I hate to say practice more, but it is one thing that I do want to be able to realize. Obviously, in life, first off, you're definitely not going to be able to please everybody, and everybody is not always going to agree with everything that you say. But no matter whatever reaction they give of what you say, if you knew it was true to your heart and you said it truly, whatever reaction, like you may feel a certain way, and it may not have went the way you wanted it to go, but in the same sense, it's like, getting back to you just did it. And on top of that, too, don't let your emotions become the best of you and let it determine how your whole day is going to end up, which is so easy to do. It's like waking up one day and automatically feel like the world's on your shoulder. And you just feel shitty inside and you play off those emotions and you can literally make your day 10 times better or 10 times worse, depending on what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So, uh,
Well, I mean, isn't that bravery and courage? Because isn't bravery and courage when you feel scared, when you feel fear, but still doing what is needed anyway? Isn't that like the definition of bravery and courageous?
it is.
So
It is.
when
Yeah.
everything around you makes you feel a certain way, but continuing to act like the way you want to, isn't that like bravery of character and courage of character?
Very, very much so. Very much so. I think it's a thing that people overlook a lot of the time, and they don't think of those words when describing it. But it's so true, man. It is bravery. It is a strong character of a person to, like I said, I mean, I always say going back, but it's so true. It's like everything we were saying. When you look up to the people who made a difference in life, everybody definitely fucking. A lot of people just didn't like them. They hated on them, and then you know what? They kept with that idea and they just did it. And then no matter of all the feedback and all of the stuff that they got back in return and stuff, they stuck to it. They did what they truly felt and stuff. And I guess they had to put on that whole, you know what? Fuck this. I ain't gonna sit here and mope around and be like, oh, you know what, that it was a good idea based on because that person said it was, or these group of people said it was. No, I'm going to go against the grain on that. And even though they said it wasn't a good idea, I believe firmly that this is the way that we should go. And that's the purpose of doing it. And I'm going to do it regardless because what I'm doing, I feel is right. And if you're doing good, it is right. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how people say, oh, man, why they use that? Or why they say some mushy stuff like this or this and that. At the end of the day, you're doing it for the purpose that you know is real, and how people perceive that is going to be on them, but don't let their feedback in life in general for everybody, you know, don't let the feedback of others influence you and be like, fuck, man, now, you know what, it was a good idea, but a couple people said it this way, you know, I don't feel as strongly about it no more. So then you just stop doing it. It definitely shows character, man. It definitely shows a lot of all that shit you said. It's just, I didn't look at it like that. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't look at it like that. They look at it more so, again, trying to appeal with people with the way, you know, they dress or the group that they want to fit into, or what they say on social media, the group they want to fit into there, instead of just generally being like, you know what, this is who I really am, and this is what I should, and this is what I'm going to display.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. It's courage of character, you know, courage of self to really stand up for what you believe in, you know, regardless of what it is, you know.
Word.
And you know, that's why it's so frustrating when you see people today that are complaining, that are claiming victimhood in whatever fucking, you know, damn, what's the word? In whatever marginalized group they claim. Marginalized group. That's what they were. But when people go around claiming victimhood in these marginalized groups that they account themselves in, you know, um, it's like you have no fucking idea what what real victimhood is. You have no fucking clue what true hardship is and how hard life is. You have no fucking idea. You're a spoiled child. Shut the
Right.
fuck up, you know, but they don't know that. You know, they have never been and experienced firsthand what the rest of the world is fucking like, and what real fucking hardship is like, you know, and real adversity. But so, I mean, can you blame them for being spoiled? Of course you can. But, you know, can you really judge? I don't think you should judge anyway, ever. But, I mean, how can you truly expect, you know, people to appreciate the value and the true rarity of life in America, and how great you fucking, the opportunity you truly have, when they've never experienced what life is like in the vast majority of the rest of the world? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
it's it sucks, man, because when if you can really try to grasp that perspective, for me, it's really allowed a lot of empathy with people. Like whenever I can have a conversation with somebody who's never been outside the United States, who's never fucking been through any kind of adversity, mostly young people or mostly people out here in California who've never had to really fucking go through any kind of real struggle or experience the struggle in the rest of the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you can truly be sympathetic to that. Like, man, how the fuck do I expect you to have my perspective and to know the things that I know, or to see
Yeah, because they haven't
when
been
you've
through it.
never
Yeah.
been that? Exactly, you've never been through it, man. That's like expecting a spouse to know what it's like in here after you come back from combat. You
Right.
can't expect them to know that, man. You
Right.
know, so how do you expect to fucking anybody who's not from your world, you know, who hasn't experienced what you experienced, how can you expect to you know, expect them to have the same perspective you do, you know? Um, and when you expect others to see things exactly the way you see them, I think that's an unreasonable assumption to have. That's an unreasonable expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can take that down, that expectation of like automatic understanding, like everybody needs to understand me no matter what. When you take that expectation down and you truly try to understand others, you'll find that you can get your point across way more easily when you can understand the other person first, if that makes sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you can
Totally.
understand the other person, and then once they fucking see, like, oh wow, this guy really went out of his way to understand me, then they're willing to fucking hear you is way higher than before. You know what I mean? And then that gives you that opportunity to really convey your fucking, you know, and really be understood, if that makes sense. You
Total
know?
sense, man. It's just giving people that time of day, man. And don't try not to just be prejudgmental, and don't engage into a conversation because you sit there and feel like everything that you say, I want my point to be proven, and they may not agree with that. I totally feel you, man. 100%. hundred
But
percent.
it's hard. It's super fucking hard, man. That's that's why people don't do it, man. Because you think it's hard, Or you think it's easy to be respectful to some young fucking punk who's just some fucking total, lived off his fucking mom and dad his whole life and has the audacity to complain when he's in college and bitching about fucking,
Yeah, they
welfare
can't
and I
see
mean
it.
all
They
that
can't
shit.
see it.
Yeah, it's you think it's easy to maintain your composure and to not just start motherfucking that kid and just wanting to strangle him the fuck up. I mean, it's super hard to not do all those things because that's what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when you see someone who's just obviously ignorant or intentionally malicious or misleading, you just want to go fucking snatch them up and just start fucking smashing teeth in, man. But you can't because you
Right. Right.
automatically
Right.
fucking lose. You know what I mean? You lose when you do that shit. So how
Yeah.
do you beat them? So how the fuck do you beat them? You have to fucking know your shit. You know what I mean? And you have to have the strength of character, the integrity, what's in here, to be able to truly know, like, you got to be able to discern who you can and can't reach because you're not going to go to some Antifa motherfucker, and enlighten him to the fucking, the miracles of capitalism. You know what I mean? This is not going to happen.
Right.
But when you're actually fucking talking to somebody who you fucking can kind of judge to be someone who really wants to exchange ideas and who really wants to fucking hear out a conversation, but they might just not agree with you and they might make you want to fucking strangle them, especially young kids who don't know no better because they've never been fucking exposed to it. You have to have that strength of character to be calm and to be collective and to lay your fucking argument, your point of view out
Like you said, the
eloquently.
empathy and stuff. I think you mentioned last
Exactly.
time. True.
Understanding, if you can reach that person and get an understanding of that person first and gain their trust first, you will fucking find that they will be much more receptive to your fucking point of view after you've gone out of your way to understand them because you can empathize with, like Gary Vaynerchuk says, man, his superpower is empathy. Well, it's a fucking very real thing, man, because when you can really make somebody understand, or excuse me, make somebody realize that you understand what they're saying. That's empathy. When they know that you know what they feel like. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you can gain that connection, gain that bond, that's a superpower, man. You know what I mean? It really is because not everybody can do that. Not a lot of people can do that because it takes life experience to have that kind of empathy because you can only be understood by people who've been through the same thing you've been through. You know what I mean?
True.
So you got to go through a lot of life experience to be empathetic with most people. You know, so
Very much
it's
so.
it's it's a very rare talent to have, man. And like, like I told you before, man. I mean, as much as I this is going to sound so arrogant, but you and I both have that very rare gift where we can talk to people and be understood and be empathetic, because not everybody has that. Not everybody, has that talent or that ability, that gift. It's not a talent, it's a gift to
Right.
be able to really communicate. Communication is not a given between people. You know what I mean? Even
Right.
people who can fucking speak the same. Look at us, man. Like, look at our culture. People don't communicate. They're speaking the same language. You're supposed to be talking about the same thing, but there's no communication happening. You know what I mean? Zero.
Yeah, well,
And
you got to look at it too. You have great speakers and you have great communicators. And sometimes a great speaker, they may not be the best person at communicating. Then all alone, somebody's like, "Damn, that's a good motherfucker. He's definitely got communication skill." No, he was speaking and telling you everything, and you perceived it as that person, has a connection. They do in a sense, like, but you're not really, having that actual back forth kind of connection. You know what I'm saying? Which works two ways and shit, man. But it's
being
easy. It's
being
easy to look at
captivating
somebody
is
and be
not
like, damn,
communicating.
that person is a, I guess it goes back to one of the like when we had that podcast earlier, man, when we was talking about self-awareness and all that stuff, being aware of the things that are possible for you or not. You kind of mentioned like, if there's certain people for a fact that, they're not meant to be
A
possibly doing
good
it.
singer.
Yeah, a good singer, in a sense, and having that self-awareness too, because I firmly believe that, I feel like that we're definitely put here and people, we have different things that are given from God, gifts that we have and stuff. And everybody's obviously not the same intent or purpose to be here for those things, but being aware of those things is actually, it definitely goes along with how we were talking about that, along with self-concept, because my big thing was self-concept and what you say that you mentioned also being aware though, what I'm saying, is also plays along a big part of that too.
Yeah, yeah. I think that self-awareness is so crucial. It's so crucial because if you don't have, and it has to be honest, and you can only get that self-awareness when you're asking hard, honest questions of yourself and answering them honestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
answering
that
them honestly,
self-awareness,
that's the key. Because sometimes you
yeah, man.
switch it up in your
And
mind too to not even be honest and shit. That's crazy,
because you don't want to realize how much you suck at shit. You know what I
right?
mean? Like people
Yeah,
don't want to fucking be like, "Wow, I actually am not as good a person as I thought I am," or "Wow, yeah, like I really don't mean shit. Like I'm not." And people don't want to acknowledge, man. They always want to blame and point their finger at others. Like you're the reason why I'm not the way I want to be. It's your fault the way I'm not the way I want to be. Instead
exactly.
of looking inward and being like, "What the fuck?" Hey, self. You know what I mean?
Right. Self check.
Yeah,
Self check.
and I think there needs to be a lot more of that, but it's hard to fucking do, man. You have to go through some real fucking adversity and some self conflict. You gotta go through a lot of self adversity to really fucking know yourself. You know what I mean? And to question yourself. Um, and not a lot of people, unfortunately, have to go through that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of like the curse of a safe society, right? Like, you really want to provide a safe society, but then you get to the point where it's too much of a good thing and people don't appreciate their safety, and then they fucking start degrading the things that make them safe,
Right.
and because they're ungrateful. Is
Right.
Bailey digging still?
Yeah, man. I'm actually about to jump off. Look at this shit, man. Look at this shit real quick.
Who's it? Who's it? Oh
There
shit,
she
Babe, what's
is.
wrong with you?
Nightmare. And she like the whole time I'm trying to like put my foot. I'm like, Bailey. I'm like,
Were you trying to sweep the dirt back in there?
yeah. I was trying. She totally
Dude,
destroyed everything, man. Look at this.
oh
Beans,
man.
bullets, and bullshit.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
man, I'm
funny.
gonna jump off, man, and fucking try to tend to her. She's like full of dirt everywhere now, and we just
All right,
moved her
brother,
and stuff.
man.
But great conversation as usual, man.
Yeah,
Hope to be
brother.
hollering at you here sooner than later this week. Tell the kids I said, what up, what up, what up?
Yeah, brother. Hey, tell Lee fucking said give her a big old hug from me, all right, brother?
Wearing no doubt, man. DJ said,
All
what
right,
up?
victory, brother.
She's ready for the next one too. All right, brother. How's Bailey?